Ridley, the Metroid series' cunning god of death. A twisted monster as sadistic as he is intelligent, one that just refuses to go down for good no matter how many times he's defeated by the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter. He's big, he's scary, and after many years of us begging Sakurai, he was finally introduced as a playable character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. He was met with a very warm welcome from the fanbase. The hype following Ridley's release was huge, and for good reason. We'd all been told that the purple lad was just too big to ever be playable in Smash, and then boom. He killed Mega Man and Mario, hit the big time, whatever that means, and we all lost our minds. Once I finally got my hands on the game, he was actually the very first character I selected. And, well, I think he's pretty underwhelming. Let's set aside the
"He's too small"
complaints a lot of people have and just take a look at the character for what he is. Some of Ridley's animations are fantastic, perfectly blending the Space Dragon's gleeful sadism and Smash's more family-friendly direction. But basically all of his other animations range from boring to genuinely bad. Take back air, for example. A kick. It's a bit like Samus's back air. One might say, oh cool, he's referencing his arch-nemesis. I say it's just lazy. What about up smash? It's another kick. He does a flip this time though. The animation itself is great. It'd be great for a character that isn't a big flying dragon creature. It's too human. Ridley is intelligent, certainly no mindless animal, but does this look like a guy that's going to be doing sick flips to kick you? On the other hand, we have forward air, which... what's he even doing? Why is he scrunching himself up like that? Why is it so awkward? After spending a perfectly reasonable amount of time thinking about this, because I am a perfectly sane and normal individual who does not spend 50% of their time dreaming up hypothetical aspects of games that will never come to pass, I've taken it upon myself to come up with a reworked version of Ridley's moveset. The aim is to end up with something that properly embodies the character while keeping what Ultimate did right. Before I begin with the moveset itself, I think Ridley's visual design could do with an update. His Meta Ridley model looks great, but his default look is pretty boring. It feels generic, he just looks like some purple space dragon thing rather than the purple space dragon thing. The main problem is that he's just not very expressive. Like I mentioned earlier, Ridley isn't just an angry beast, he's deceptively intelligent and takes great pleasure in giving people a bad time. His Meta Ridley art showcases this quite well, with his sadistic grins being quite noticeable, but this default look is lacking. Personally, I'd base his appearance on Proteus Ridley from Metroid Samus Returns, the amazing official art more so than the in-game model. This way he'd be pretty mechanical, which I've always found to be one of the more interesting aspects of Ridley's design, but not so much so as Meta Ridley. I'd have his stance be more like this too, being less curled up on himself, though obviously his tail would have to be positioned in such a way that it prevents any Mewtwo syndrome. For his crouch, he could drop to all fours like in a few of his later appearances, Samus Returns included. There's also another problem with his appearance. Say it with me, he's too small. Now yes, I know that size is difficult to balance, and he certainly can't be as big as he is in some of the Metroid games, but I see no reason why he can't be a bit bigger. I'd have him stand at about the height of his down taunt in Ultimate, and he'd be about 1.3 Bowsers long, excluding most of his tail. I'd also make his wings a fair bit larger, though they'd still mostly be invulnerable. This brings us to the next problem, Ridley's stats. To put it bluntly, his weight in Ultimate makes no sense. Why is he lighter than Samus? Why would you give a character one of the biggest hurt boxes in the game and then make him too light to take the inevitable beating that comes with that? He manages to be easy combo food and easy to kill, which is a uniquely unfortunate combination. With him being even bigger now, I'd increase his weight significantly to make him the heaviest character in the game. He also has super armor on a few of his moves, including something similar to Bowser's Tough Guy. As for his other stats, I'd give him a big boost to his airspeed and an extra jump for 4 in total. Ridley's air presence is already intimidating in Ultimate, but he's a flying space dragon robot pirate thing. I think he deserves to rule the skies. For that same reason, I'd also make him a bit floatier, letting him really make the most of his airtime. Finally, I've decreased his ground speed overall with the exception of his initial dash, which has been buffed to allow for sudden bursts of aggression that overwhelm Ridley's victims, I mean opponents. With all that out of the way, let's finally take a look at the moveset itself. Let's begin with Ridley's jab, which isn't too different from the one he has in Ultimate. A 3-hit combo starting with an inward claw swipe followed by a swipe with the other hand. The final hit, instead of Ultimate's quick little awkward bite, has Ridley lunge forward with a longer ranged bite that's essentially identical to his Ultimate dash attack. The full combo deals a total of 12% and has much better range than an ultimate, though all of his moves have more range given how much bigger he is. Ridley's side tilt has always bothered me. Having him hold his tail like a spear is interesting in concept, but it just looks awkward to me, and it's quite unnecessary given how much power and speed Ridley's tail has without him needing to hold onto it. So for his new side tilt, Ridley performs a powerful downward claw slam with one hand to deal about 14%. This attack is based on one used by Mecha Ridley in Metroid Zero Mission, and it'd be one of quite a few super armored moves. Another move I've never particularly liked the look of is Ridley's up tilt because, well, just look how awkward this thing is. It's also not a particularly good move anyway, with very little upward range. So let's flip that on its head. Ridley crouches low and stabs straight up with his tail, dealing 20% at the tip and 11% elsewhere. Visually, it'd essentially be the same as Ridley's up throw in Ultimate. This move has great upward range and is very powerful at the tip, similar to Sephiroth's up tilt, but it also shares that move's problem of very little horizontal coverage. Ridley's down tilt is actually not bad. It's a good move and I think it looks pretty good, so I'm not going to change it, beyond upping the damage slightly to account for him being such a big boy now. I like Ridley's dash attack, but it's been repurposed as part of his jab, so what can we replace it with? For his new dash attack, Ridley takes off into the air and drags the tip of his tail along the ground before flicking it upward. The initial drag travels quite far and deals multi-hitting damage, while the final strike scoops opponents into the air along with Ridley, allowing immediate aerial follow-ups. It deals a total of 20% and is based on this move from Ridley's boss fight in the Subspace Emissary. This version of Ridley has very little in the way of combo potential, so giving him something like this seems fair. The move would also deal decent shield damage and have super armor, but it's extremely unsafe, so you don't just want to throw this out willy-nilly. Next up, let's look at aerials, where Ridley really shines. His neutral air is somewhat infamous for being huge, fast, and easy to spam. If you ask me, he deserves it, so I'm not going to change it much. It'll just be even bigger, a little slower, and deal 12%. I'd also change the name from Ridley Spin. I mean, seriously, is that the best I could do? Ridley's forward air is a mess of a move. I cannot stress enough how much I hate this animation, and it's not that interesting functionally either, so I'm going to completely change it. Ridley raises both legs in front of himself and performs a double-footed X kick, slashing with his clawed feet to deal 18% at his feet and spike opponents, or just dealing 11% at his legs. This move would also have super armor. Armored aerials aren't really a thing in Smash, but if anyone were to have them, it would be Ridley. Ridley's back air is another move that makes me unreasonably upset. For his new back air, he performs a simple slash with his tail from low to high behind himself, a bit like Mewtwo's bear. This has massive range and deals 20% at the tip of his tail or 12% elsewhere. Faster than forward air with more range and damage but much less power. Ridley's up air annoys me almost as much as his forward and back air because why is he folding up his wings and attacking with them while airborne? Surely that defeats the purpose of having wings. And what's worse, it looks stupid. I can forgive something not making sense if it looks cool, but this doesn't look cool, so let's change it. For his new up air, Ridley performs a wide arcing claw slash above himself, similar to Ike's up air with his claws infused with blue energy. This deals 14% and comes out quick, but it's the second weakest of Ridley's aerials after neutral air. It's also a reference to both Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and Metroid Samus Returns, with Ridley performing blue energy-infused claw swipes in both of those games. Ridley's down air gets a lot of hate, and honestly I don't know why. It's just not as bad as people say. It's a fast way to get back to the ground, it's one of very few stall falls that isn't a guaranteed death sentence if used off stage. It deals decent damage, and it's a relatively good kill option if someone tries to follow you into the air. I'm also someone who likes stall falls anyway, so I might be a bit biased. Regardless, Ridley has a move like this in many of his boss fights, so I can't just remove it. Let's enhance it a bit instead. Ridley plummets downwards feet first, landing on all fours and releasing a small shockwave upon impact that deals 5%. The dive itself deals 16%, has super armor and spikes for the first half rather than just at the very beginning. And, just for funsies, performing a jump immediately after landing with this move will cancel some of the ending lag to perform a slightly faster, slightly higher jump, reflecting Ridley's habit of crashing down and immediately taking off into the air again. Ridley's old side smash is fine, a neat reference to an attack his clone uses in Other M, but I feel it could be better represented elsewhere. For his new side smash, Ridley winds up his tail with a few spins before stabbing it forward. This move has huge range, deals 22% at the tip and 16% elsewhere, and can be angled up or down. To be blunt, this idea comes straight from the Ridley mod for the Project M mod for Brawl, but it's so cool. I've already said a lot about Ridley's up smash in Ultimate, but to summarise, cool move not for him. For his new up smash, he stands on all fours facing the camera and slams his wings together above himself. Being hit by the wings deals 12%, but getting caught right in the middle as they collide deals 20. This has huge range and power, but it's his slowest smash attack. Remember how I mentioned Ridley's side smash being better suited elsewhere? Well, here we are. His down smash in Ultimate is awful as far as appearances go, and while it's functionally quite useful, I feel like it doesn't suit him in either department. So for his new down smash, Ridley faces his body towards the camera and breathes fire in a wide arc, hitting on both sides to deal 16%. This is his weakest and fastest smash attack, and is more directly based on the move from Other M that inspired his Ultimate side smash. Now we can talk about special attacks. Ridley's neutral special is possibly his only clear-cut direct reference to the Metroid games, so changing it would just not be okay. Charge up, shoot the fireballs, they bounce along. That said, there is one change I'd make. The first time you use the move in the air, it completely stops Ridley from falling for a moment and lets him move forward and backward while charging. After doing this, you'd need to touch the ground again before being able to stall once more. Finally, a genuinely excellent move. Space Pirate Rush is one of my favourite attacks in the entire game. A command grab that grinds the opponent into the ground before flinging them away. It's something Ridley's made a habit of doing over the years, and it's a perfect representation of his viciousness. But you know what I can do? I can make it better. Pressing side special has Ridley lunge forward and grab the opponent like usual. However, if you aim forward or backward while pressing the button again, Ridley performs a unique action out of the throw. Forward has him perform his early throw from Ultimate that leaves him airborne and enables aerial follow-ups. Pressing back has Ridley lob the opponent behind himself, a bit like this scene from Samus Returns, which could be extremely useful when recovering. Imagine going off stage to gimp Ridley only to be grabbed and tossed straight into the blast zone behind him. It can still be used for kamikaze KOs if you so choose, but if you hit the stage, Ridley slams you against it to stage spike you, functionally the same as if he runs into a wall in Ultimate, which is another feature that would be retained. Damage values are all the same, the backward throw deals the same damage as the regular throw, nothing crazy there. However, the initial dash forward has super armor now, letting you ram through projectiles. Ridley's up special is a very strange move. A Firefox-esque charge and go sort of recovery with good travel distance, but one limited to 4 oddly specific directions. They gave the big flying space dragon an awkward 4-way recovery. Let's fix it. Ridley's new up special is Omega Rush, an omnidirectional recovery move that travels slightly further than Wing Blitz and packs even more of the punch. Angling it upward just has Ridley spread his wings and rise, and angling it downward results in the same diving kick as Wing Blitz's down-angled variation. Angling it left or right has Ridley rush forward with his jaws wide open, referencing an attack used by Ridley in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Better control, greater power, and less awkward animations that actually reference his home series, essentially summing up the entire premise of this rework. Finally, for a move that I adore, Skewer. Ridley's down special is absolutely perfect. A bit precise, but able to inflict massive damage in a surprisingly brutal fashion. The only changes I'd make here are fairly small ones. Increase the sweet spot hitbox just a little bit and make the move completely ignore shields. Next up is the grabs and throws. Ridley's new grab has him pin the opponent down with one hand, looming over them with a grin. His pummel has him jab the opponent with his tail like in Ultimate. Ridley's forward throw is boring. That's literally all I have to say about it. For his new forward throw, Ridley essentially performs his old side smash, causing an explosion around his mouth that launches the opponent away and deals 10%. This is Ridley's primary kill throw, KOing the average fighter at about 100% from the ledge. Ridley's back throw is also boring. For his new one, he stabs the opponent with his tail and flings them behind himself with a grin, dealing 12%. This throw is mostly useful for positioning, not having particularly good kill power. Ridley's up throw is great, but the animation was repurposed into his new up tilt. So for his new up throw, Ridley grabs the opponent with his hind claws and flies up off screen, before slamming back down on top of them to deal 12% and launch at a high diagonal angle. This is Ridley's second strongest kill throw, killing at about 120%. Ridley's down throw is, you guessed it, boring. For his new one, he claws at the opponent viciously before stomping on them with one foot to launch them away. This is Ridley's highest damage throw, dealing 16%, and is useful for neither killing nor combos. None of Ridley's throws have much in the way of combo potential, but he has his rising throughout of Space Pirate Rush to fill that niche for what little combo potential he does possess. Ridley's final smash is actually one of my favourites in the game, and it's a big part of why Ridley's hatred of Samus feels like it carries over to Smash better than most other hero-villain rivalries. The only thing I change is Ridley's stance in this shot. He looks ridiculously goofy with such a humanoid pose, so I'd just make him more draconic in his flight. Now that we've covered the actual attacks this version of Ridley would possess, let's have a look at some less consequential stuff. Ridley's taunts are a mixed bag. His up taunt is great, but his side and down taunts are uninteresting and bad respectively. Up taunt can be kept the same, but Ridley's roar shakes the screen and his flapping wings create a relatively strong wind box that pushes opponents and items away. Side taunt can be changed entirely, since I don't think anyone will miss this weird spin thing. Instead, he grinds the tip of his tail against the ground in front of himself while beckoning the opponent. As for his god-awful down taunt, we can keep the idea they were going for while making it, actually a taunt. Ridley stands at his full height and holds one hand down low to mock the opponent's stature, letting out a sound that might pass as sadistic laughter. Ridley's victory screens are pretty run-of-the-mill. His first one is fine, but I'd alter it slightly so that he skids to a stop on all fours before roaring, rather than striking this weird pose. His second one I find to be really boring, so I'd take a bit of inspiration from piranha plantable characters. Similarly to how Mario appears in their victory screens, I'd have Samus appear in Ridley's. This one would show Samus and Ridley duking it out before Ridley flings Samus off screen and shrieks at her. Once the little freeze frame red thing happens, I have no idea if this has a name, but you know what I mean, Ridley would rush off screen to pursue his nemesis with the sounds of their battle persisting in the background. Finally, Ridley's third victory screen has essentially become his new down throw. The new victory screen would be Ridley standing triumphantly with the space pirates in tow. They need to be somewhere, I doubt they'd leave their boss on his own. For the final little detail, I'd change Ridley's on-screen appearance. He is shrouded in smoke, but then his eyes light up and the rest of him is revealed, referencing his iconic reveal in Super Metroid. And there you have it, my concept for a reworked version of Ridley in Smash, one that has a few more references to his home series and makes the cunning god of death fit his title. This video has been a pretty big step up for me and my content, and a fairly intimidating one at that. Talking into a microphone is kinda weird, It takes some getting used to, and my voiceover for this one probably wasn't the best, but hey, that just means I'll improve as time goes on because I have a lot more videos like this to make. If you're interested in those, feel free to hit those little like and subscribe buttons down there. Did it do the thing where they light up? I hope so. Because your support means the absolute world to me. We're slowly marching our way towards the monetization requirements on this channel, and that's insane to me. If you have any suggestions for characters I should cover, be it a rework of a current Smash character or someone entirely new, go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of this rework and what you might change. Again, thank you so much for watching and have a nice day. See ya!